In 50 years, China will be at least 5 times the GDP of Japan. There's nothing that's going to stop that. When China, say just before the Industrial Revolution became full-blown, was the biggest economy in the world. And before America was even properly founded.
China is growing at 8 to 9%. Most people believe that China will replace Japan in 2020 as the second largest economic nation in the world. They may differ with the time, but they see it as an inevitability. Secondly, that India, if it continues to grow at 5 or 6%, 7, in 50 years will be the strongest economic power in the world. We're talking about this century.
Yes.
In the great span of time, 50 years is not a long time. Yeah. Tell me how you see what everybody assumes to be a shift from the West to the East. Power, economic power, and the consequences of having economic power is coming your way.
Yes. Let me put it in even starker terms. In 50 years, China will be at least 5 times the GDP of Japan. Just taking the coastal provinces, ignore the inland provinces. It's got a population of 1.3 at the moment. Japan is 120 million, so it's about 11 times.
1.3 billion plus.
Plus 120 million.
Right.
There's nothing that's going to stop that. They have decided to join the market. Members of the WTO, yes, it's not full observance of intellectual property and all the rest of it, but they're going to go that way because it's in their interests. India, seeing what's happening in China, decides that it's got to change course. 40 years of planning had left them way behind.
They made that decision about 10 years ago.
Made that decision. Manmohan Singh was finance minister when he found he had to go to the IMF cap in hand.
Right.
In other words, we are going back to the kind of balance of world productive capacity, say in the 1700s, when China, say just before the Industrial Revolution became full-blown, was the biggest economy in the world. And before America was even properly founded. Does it mean that we are going back to that period in history? No, because the world has moved on. There's America. There will be a united Europe. But it does mean that the center of economic gravity will move from the Pacific, from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
And what are the consequences of that?
Enormous. I mean, the Chinese are in no hurry. You know, there's a talk that they'll be invited to G7 finance ministers and so on. They're not worried whether they're invited or they're not invited. They already know that what they do with the renminbi or the yuan is a matter of great import to the rest of the world.
And it doesn't matter whether their economy temporarily overheats or not, or whether they make temporarily decisions about the economy. There's an inevitability having to do with the population, having to do with some wise decisions about the marketplace and the future. And the fact, I'm making a point, I want you to respond to it, and the fact that they understand the significance of technology and science.
No, I think...
As you did in Singapore.
I visited China in 1976 when they were still blue ants or gray ants. Everybody dressed the same. Everybody gave the same answers in the last days of the Mao era. Even then, talking to them, I had a premonition of their tremendous brain power and the challenge they will pose Singapore.
Let me tell you what you have said, and this was in a speech you made, I think, that the last time you visited China, now, this was not in the 70s, but you were struck by the entrepreneurial zeal, of the Chinese, and you wondered if your country, Singapore, had made a mistake because the best and the brightest in Singapore went into government, into the bureaucracy, and therefore you didn't have the same kind of entrepreneurship that made the Chinese so potentially powerful.
Well, yes and no.
So you worry, go ahead.
Well, first we had to get the state going. Supposing we had had a weak government and lots of bright young people running around making money, we would not have cohered as a nation and never have been.
So one had to precede the other.
We had to have, before you can have a country, a society, there must be a sense of common destiny, that we share a certain obligation to each other. Otherwise, everybody for himself. Why should I, if I'm a loser, be part of the game? But once that is established, then I have learned, watching Europe, watching Japan, and watching America, that the robustness of the American economy is its ability to meet unexpected challenges, adapt, downsize, change, revamp, revive, start new industries, and flourish, move ahead.
More than any other economy.
More than any other economy.
That is the strength of the American economy, the ability to adapt to change circumstances.
I did not start off with that view because I was brought up by the British, and I thought a certain stability was necessary. I was wrong. I watched them, and I decided that Margaret Thatcher was doing the right thing, but could not complete the job because she never got the unions around. The Chinese share the same culture as we do. And in that culture, for thousands of years, scholarship was highly prized. So in the hierarchy of things, you have scholar, shi, the Mandarin, the farmer, nong, the worker, kong, the merchant, the middleman, shang. The middleman is not productive. He's just parasitical. That was the Chinese feudal society. We had that. They still have that. So when you say China is entrepreneurial, I say yes. But the top, the cream of the crop, still goes into government. But they have so many bright people that they can do it.
Do you want to retire early? Do you love freedom? Do you want to work only 1 to 2 hours a day while traveling around the world and spend more time with your family? You can start stock investing and option trading right now.